So today I want to go over some of the biggest changes people are asking for since the Diablo 4 public beta. So I think a good place to start is the UI, because there's been a lot of people complaining that the UI leaves a lot to be desired, and I think this is more specifically on PC. I think for consoles this is probably going to work completely fine, but that brings us to a post by Evagast where they created a completely new mock-up of your character sheet UI. So in this screenshot, the left side is the mock-up and the right side is the original Diablo 4 UI. And right at the bat, I think the left side actually looks better graphically. I think it looks a lot cleaner, and it's just generally a lot easier to read and understand what's going on with it. But past it just looking cleaner, there's actually two things added into this UI mockup that were also some pretty big complaints from the community. Now, first off, under your main stats, this person actually added an area to show you all of your elemental resistances on the main page. Now, I didn't actually see this complained about a lot, but this is something that I actually wanted, because resistances are very important for creating your build in this game and in a lot of other ARPGs, so having to go to a different tab to check those constantly is probably going to get pretty annoying, and this is just a really elegant way to display these elemental resistances just on your character sheet itself, and you don't have to go into any other menus. But the main thing that's been a very big complaint since a beta is gems taking up inventory slots with your gear pieces. Now on the right side, you have your normal Diablo 4 UI with your gems and your gear pieces in the equipment tab, but then you have a consumable tab, a quest tab, and an aspects tab, and these are all carrying different items. Consumables carry elixirs, quest tab carries specific quest items, and aspects carry the aspects you extracted out of legendaries. But right now in Diablo 4, your gems are all carried in these same slots as gear you're picking up, and once you get into mid-game and into endgame, you might as well just keep one slot with one of every type of gem in your inventory at all times, because that's exactly how the game's going to play out. And I know that's reminiscent of old Diablos where you have half your slots filled all the time for specific items, but I think it could be done much better, and this is what everybody has been wanting, because this left side mockup has another tab added in specifically for gems. So now your front equipment tab would only be gear you pick up, then you have the gem tabs where all your gems go into in the separate tab, then you have all the other normal tabs that we just went over. And I think this would just help item management so much. They already removed the Tetris aspect of your inventory, so all items take up the same amount of space, and I think with them doing that, they should just go further, have your own gem tab. It would make item management just much better, and it'd make much more sense to players. And next up, we have the thing I've seen complained about more than anything else, and that has to do with your skill bar, and there's 2 points to this. First off, being that ultimate skills should have their own slot, so we should have 7 slots total, or 6 normal ability slots, and then a 7th ultimate slot that gets unlocked once we get ultimates. And the second being that there should be another small slot specifically for your movement skill, because as of right now in Diablo 4, your UI looks like this, and you have 1 through 4, which are ability slots, and then you have a left and right click. Now you can rebind these, but whatever keybind you have your move on is always going to have an ability on that keybind as well, meaning that the movement is never going to be as smooth as it could be if there was another slot that was specifically just for movement. And someone also made a mock-up of this as well. So in this mock-up, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 that are all just normal ability keybinds. Then we have right click that works the exact same way it does in the base UI right now. But then on the left and right sides, they added in new buttons. So on the right side, we have a left click that is just movement. So when you're left clicking around, it is not tied to any ability, so you're not trying to move to an area and accidentally casting a spell or casting your basic skill on an enemy. You're trying to move around. And then you have a new ultimate button set on R. Obviously you'd be able to rebind this if they did this, and that is where your ultimate would go. And personally, after giving some thought to this, this is pretty much exactly what I would want as well. So specifically for the ultimate, it feels really weird in game that you're leveling up, you're putting 23 points into your skill tree, meaning you get to go through every different section of the skill tree and try out every ability from every single section. And then after you put those 23 points in, you can then put the 24th point into your ultimate slot and get your first ultimate ability. But once you get this ultimate ability, it replaces one of your basic skills. It doesn't give you a new slot or a new section to where you can just use ultimates on its own button. It has to replace one of the skills you've been been using. And that, combined with the fact that most ultimates I've tried out and seen in the beta aren't as strong as you would originally suspect, so it does not feel good using these 6 different buttons where you're creating your build around, and then you go up one level, you put a point into an ultimate, you want to try out these big ultimate super strong abilities, and you have to remove one of the basic skills you've been using. It doesn't really make sense, and it does not feel good as a player. But with something similar to this mockup, you would keep all your basic skills, and then once you unlock your ultimate, it would unlock this final slot to where you put your ultimate into. Now, this would obviously require some decent rebalancing of the game. I think that would be completely worth it. I think having your 6 skills plus your ultimate would be much better for build creation. It would be much better for just playing through the game. You wouldn't have that bad feeling of, oh, well, now I got to remove one of my basic skills I've been using to use this ultimate that may not even be super strong. And it will just give you a lot more variation and options for creating your build and just giving you more options of how you want to play. And then add into that this new box with left click to move that's not on any keybind would be such a big quality of life change. If you have played specifically on PC during the beta, you'll have had this happen where you're walking around and you're trying to walk past an enemy or move somewhere else, and you keep casting a spell on that enemy because that's also one of your ability slots. So again, instead of it being like it is now where your movement is also on one of your ability slots, it would be much better to just move it over to the side, give it its own small little button that's left click to move, and then you change one of your skill slots to a different keybind. And this would fix so many problems people were having with the kind of combat and UI in the beta. Now, one of the smaller things that I think needs changed before the launch of the game is to just have a transparent map. As of right now, you have your mini map when you're normally playing that you don't really have any option to change, but I don't think that's too big of a deal. Then you have your main map that you open up that is not transparent, takes up your entire screen, and you can't move your character or see anything behind it. And this is really bad specifically because you can't move around or see your health when it's open, meaning this could get you killed quite a lot. And I know a lot of ARPG players, especially Path of Exile players, want a transparent map because they usually have this map up quite a lot of the time, and they want to be able to see through it and still be able to play with this smaller, more transparent map open. And I think that's a pretty small and easy change I could do to legitimately just make the game better. So these were some of the bigger issues people had directly after playing the beta. I recommend checking out my last video where I go over some of the bigger issues with the game as a whole, a little bit more focused on some of the end game systems, but these were stuff that people were able to actually test out themselves, and some of these mock-ups and opinions that people had on how the game can change for the better, I think were pretty good, especially that UI mock-up. That one was actually really good. But that's all I want to go over, so thanks for watching.